What's good, guys? Munchie here. Welcome to the cook-up. Right now we're in the kitchen with a Vaylantz deck profile. This one's second place trophy at the latest season of the locals at Video Game Trader over here in Buford. This deck's going to work with dice rolls, coin flips, strategic placement for column pushing and column special summoning. Let's get into it. First, we're going to go off with 3 copies of Shinonome Vaylantz Priestess. One special summon from the Pendulum zone. It's going to lock you into your Vaylantz monsters. It's the only one that'll lock you in. This will end up searching your spells and Vaylantz monsters. We're also going to go with 1 copy of Seon the Valant Archer and 1 copy of Nizuki the Vaylantz Ninja. Archer is going to target effect monsters and negate the effects, send them to the hand, or destroy them depending on the coin flip. Nizuki will move your monsters to trigger those movement effects. Up next, we're going to have 2 copies of Buster Baron, 3 copies of Vaylantz Voltage Viscount, 3 copies of Vaylantz Mad Marquess, and 1 copy of Vaylantz Dominator Grand Duke. Buster Baron is going to be your Fire Machine Vaylantz. That's going to be movement. Voltage Viscount is going to recycle your monsters by taking the face-up Vaylantz monsters from your extra deck and placing them back into the Spell and Trap zone. Mad Marquess will be your Excavation upon dice roll, and Dominator Duke will target one set card in your opponent's Spell or Trap zone or yours, and it won't be able to be activated this turn, and if it's moved, you can take your opponent's monster, and it's considered a Vaylantz monster. It can't attack nor activate effects, but it comes in handy with attributing for the Vaylantz extra deck monsters that you have. Up next, we're going to go with the Vaylantz spells. 1 copy of Vaylantz War's Place of Beginning, 2 copies of Vaylantz World Shinra Bancho, 2 copies of Vaylantz World Koenig Winston, and 3 copies of Vaylantz Awakening Solo Activation. Place of Beginning is going to search your field spells, and if you choose, you could pop a Vaylantz Pendulum monster to gain a Senate switch to move your monsters. Shinra Bancho is going to special summon monsters from your Spell and Trap zone onto your main monster zone, and Koenig Winston will push your opponent's monsters into the Spell and Trap zone. Solo Activation will search any Vaylantz Pendulum monster that you have in your deck and place it into the Pendulum zone. Up next, as you see, we're going to need support with Pendulum Summoning with our Vaylantz monsters since they're all Pendulum Scale 1. So that's going to be our 1 copy of Perform Pal, 5 Rainbow Magician, 1 copy Kai Kendo Spirit, and 2 copies of Magical Libra. Up next, we're going to have 1 copy Magical Hound for our Anti-Spell Fragrance and to prevent your opponent from using your field spells. 1 copy of Hydrolander Orbit, and 1 copy of Electromagnetic Turtle just to get the graveyard a little bit shifty. Now, let's add a little bit of extra spice to our deck. We're going to add 3 copies of Royal Magical Library to keep our cycle going and to gain more to our hand. 2 copies of Jizz, 3 copies of Lava Golem, and 3 copies of Nib. We're going to abuse the fact that we contribute our opponent's monsters, push them into the Spell and Trap zone, and send them back to our hand, and then deal the attack as damage to your opponent. Up next with our extra deck, we're going to have 1 copy of Arcos Chronocosm Vaylantz, 2 copies of Genesis Grand Duke, which will lead into our XYZ OTK using Juggernaut and using Gustav. Very beautiful. Sends up to the hand from the Spell and Trap zone. Switches the 2 locations of monsters on your side or your opponent's side and pops a monster. Burns for 2,000. OTK basically by gaining attack to make it 6,000 attack and just nailing your opponent. Up next with our XYZs, we're going to have our Utopic Draco Future combo using Draco, Future, Utopic Future, Bahamut Shark, and Gear Gigant X. After using Bahamut Shark, that'll leave us with a totally awesome on our board. And if things get a little bit spicy midway, if we get ashed, etc., you have fire. So we're going to use number 29 since we have level 2s and just going to abuse that aspect. Finishing off our extra deck, we're going to have 1 copy of Beyond to keep our engine going. 1 copy of Puzzle Amino just in case things get even more spicy for any type of situation. It's good to pop. It's good just to make the adjustment if we need to get an extra monster out from an extra deck, etc. And 1 copy of Appaloosa just to finish off the board with a nice cherry on top. Gotta give them the dessert. Now, finishing off with our extra deck, side chick, whichever one you like. We're going to make ours real bad. So we're going to have 3 copies of Prohibition. If you learn your cards right and you read your opponent's deck well, this will help you out every step of the way. It becomes a million cards if you work it right. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. 3 copies of Imperial Iron Wall. 3 copies of Dimensional Shifter. And 3 copies of Royal Decree. Thank you guys. This is the Vaylantz deck profile that won 2nd place at the 2023 latest Locals Championship at Video Game Trader. Shouts out to them. Again, if you want me to get more in depth, do any test hands, etc., please comment down below, like, subscribe, share.